Welcome to Stop Wasting Your Wine, a wine review podcast dedicated to helping you find the right wine for the right vibes. On this episode, we review
the Tenuta di Renieri Chianti Classico Reserva from 2021.
That's right. We have a Chianti Classico yet again because we love them so much, and I cannot drink this alone. So I am experiencing it with two of the best podcast wine review hosts out there, Colin and Joel. How are you guys doing this evening?
Excellent. You could drink this wine alone, but it'd be way more fun with us.
Yeah, for sure.
Just so we don't confuse the listener, there is no lock mechanism on this. There's nothing to actually physically prevent you from doing that.
Three people must keep their hands on the bottle for the cork to release. It's a really cool concept. So Chianti Classico, we're doing it again because it's always exciting, and it's never, at least for us, superly overpriced or anything like that. So guys, I'm excited because I went on a mission this week, so it was my turn, and we always talk about this a little bit later, but I think it'd be fun to just name up front. I wanted to find the least expensive, highest rated bottle of wine that I could find.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right?
I play this game all the time. I love this game.
Yeah, that's how I used to buy my wine. Before I knew anything about it, I'd pick a section. I'd go highest number I could find for the lowest price. Doesn't always work out.
It doesn't. But here's the thing I did this time. I specifically looked for Mr. James Suckling's ratings.
Oh, Jimmy.
We know there's so many different things out there, and we've kind of talked about it. Some of the different organizations rating things seem a little bit more aligned with our own tastes, and some of them seem to be a bit inflated.
Sure.
But
that's a nice way
Mr.
to say
Suckling, Mr. Suckling is pretty well known, pretty well renowned. Sure. So he gave today's bottle 95 points.
Wow. Well, you have to keep in mind he's a giant Sangiovese fan. He rates Brunello's the close to 100 or at 100 pretty regularly, and Brunello is like ultra high-end Sangiovese. So this is right up his alley as far as Sangiovese is concerned.
I don't hate that. Like, I don't hate that's like, this is my style of wine, and I'm going to really dig into what is a good version of that. Like, that's okay by me.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. He does have a very specific palate, though, and it's usually pretty big, pretty bold. So we'll see if that translates into this bottle here.
So 95 points. I think one of the highest technically rated wines we've had on the show. I don't think we've had more than a handful of 95 pointers over the past 2 years of the show for $25.
Yeah, I think you hopefully have found a nice little intersection of good grapes, good value, and again, we always take our ratings with a grain of salt, but some high praise already. So hopefully you struck a nice balance here.
And we've had some really good luck with Chianti Classico on this show, right? We have our St. Giorgio, which we know is a big brand, but like
Had it in my wine fridge.
We had the Rufino Chianti Classico that Joel found in Canada that we were able to get all up and down the East Coast, which I don't think was super expensive. So far, we've had a really good experience with Chianti Classicos.
Yeah. One of my favorite value regions, to be honest, because, again, there's so much good wine coming out of there. Even compared to just classical Chianti, I'm always looking for Chianti Classico if I'm going Chianti. So super excited to see what this one is. And we've actually tried this producer before, the Renieri. We tried the Super Tuscan back in the day, and the pizza wine episode. Way back, one of my first episodes, I think. Yeah.
I think it was like episode 3 or something like that.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Whoa, we've been alive for so long.
So it was a pizza wine? We named it a pizza wine?
I think it was the birth of the concept of a pizza wine on the show. It was that one.
It was.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get back there. And we learned about Chianti Classico a while back, but for those who are new or who are a little rusty on that, we're gonna go over that a little bit in our drops of knowledge segment. So you excited? You think we're on to something good here? You think it's gonna be a good night?
We will see.
All the ingredients are there. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get.
And there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get into this one. Yeah.
Good thing we're not one of those wine review podcasts where we just talk about where it's from and then don't drink it.
Nah, that'd be silly. That'd be super silly. So before we get into it himself, Joel, can you give the listener the deets, please, of this wine?
Yes, I'd be very happy to. So this is the 2021 Tenuta di Renieri Chianti Classico Reserva.
Nice little Italian slide on that. I heard that.
Thank you.
That's nice.
I was thinking about
really
mushroom.
nice.
Yeah.
100% Sangiovese from Chianti Classico, 14.5% ABV. So this one's carrying a little
Heavy
weight
hitter.
with it. Yeah, and got this one for about $25. Hey, can I do a quick? I think the second ever headache report.
Ooh.
From a previous
After
episode.
last week's Joel got,
Ooh.
did it Joel get you?
Oh, there he is. He's coming back with
Well
it, baby.
done. That I'm glad you slipped one more of those in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got Joel Gott for sure. And I tell you what, sometimes we do this and, we kind of find ourselves, we've gone through half, maybe a little bit more of the bottle by the time we're done recording. That was not my case this time. I legitimately one glass the whole night that we were talking.
Really?
And man, if I didn't wake up the next morning with just like it wasn't terrible, but I felt like I drank a lot more than I did the night before.
You had a bit of a headache.
Anybody else
You had
have
a
that?
fuzziness to you.
The cheap wine hangover.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a fuzz. I won't say I had a headache, and I did. You guys know me. I'm going to be a couple of glasses in, but I agree with you. There was a little more of a fuzz than I normally wake up with after, especially when we drink a really, really nice bottle of wine. So I think it's just one more thing to factor in, right?
Yeah,
Definitely. 100%.
Okay.
And Colin, you think that has to do with maybe the additives, maybe the deal you make with the devil to produce millions of bottles of wine a year?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure 100% what's in there because the wine laws here in the United States don't mind opacity when it comes to what's actually in the wine.
Loosey-goosey.
It'll
Call them
yeah, on wine
loosey-goosey.
labeling. Yeah, you could call it. Yeah, for sure. One of the only products that doesn't require the list of ingredients to be on the label, which is crazy. So, who knows what they put in there to make the exact same wine every year. So, I don't know for sure, but that's definitely something to take into consideration when you're drinking cheaper wine.
Interesting. And so one thing we should name is, even though we know Renieri is a little bit of a bigger producer, we also know coming out of Italy, especially coming out of Chianti Classico, they're going to have way stricter expectations around how the wine is produced. So, when we talk about wine, just saying it's a big producer or a mass producer, that does not necessarily equate to equal quality across the board, because something being made in the States for something being made in Chianti Classico is just going to be worlds different.
I would say when you're talking about a, designated area versus not, which of course this Chianti Classico is very much DOCG. So yeah,
Absolutely. No, that's a really good point, Joel.
All right, so let's get into it. I'm excited. I remember, honestly, Colin, you teaching us about Chianti Classico was such an eye-opener for me when we did this a while back, because just the concept of wine having higher expectations based on the region that it's in, it was so exciting to me. So let's get into it a little bit. I already mentioned why I picked this one. I picked it because it's affordable and because it had a high rating, and I love Chianti Classico. I think Sangiovese might be one of my favorite grapes that we've picked up so far.
It is mine as well.
All right, guys, let's get into it.
Tastes like wine.
Joel, what are you getting on the nose?
definitely getting, some of that cherry, the red fruit up front. Smells very, kind of young and fresh. Yeah, that's kind of those are the big things popping out to me at first.
Colin, what are you getting?
I mean, it smells like Sangiovese. Like, that is the classic Sangiovese profile. It's that big, bold cherry, and then just a load of, Italian herbs. Just really incredibly herbal on the nose.
Yeah, and Colin, am I confusing? It also smells to me like there's a bit of oakiness on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Getting that
Yeah.
oakiness, getting that herbalness, definitely the cherry. It's a big smell. I like it. I like pouring this out and getting that big whiff of lots of different things going on in there.
Yeah, for sure. No, the oak is a great call. And you're right, it is rather complex, and it's quite expressive, too. You really don't need to stick your nose too far down into the glass before you get the aromas coming out of this wine.
And I like the words you guys are saying. I like complex. I like expressive. But I don't know if you guys agree with this, but like it's not overwhelmingly so. It's not like heavy. I'm not expecting this to be, a punch in the face in any way. Like to me, it's doing all that, but doing it in a very
elegant,
very light kind of welcoming way. Yeah, elegant is a nice word too.
Elegant, very good word.
It's got an elegant balance. I will say, when I first poured it out, and again, full transparency, I opened this up about 20 minutes before we started recording. That's about 40 minutes ago now. And when I first poured a glass a little bit ago, there was definitely a bigger punch. So this is definitely one you want to pour out a little bit, open up before you drink it. And that's like even before sipping it, just like the smell experience is very, very different. I will say too, before we move into the taste, nothing unnatural smelling, right? Like, and I just want to name that again, coming off of like a big brand episode. There's nothing coming at me that feels like there was added oak scent or added
no
eucalyptus or menthol or cherry or anything that sometimes you get when there's mass-produced wine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't allow that in Chianti Classico.
Kick you right out.
Yeah, for sure. No, that would be, I think, everything against that Classico zone stands for.
All right. Let's take a big old sip and make sure when you swish and do the air thing, you do it right into the microphone. Everyone loves it. All right. Colin, I'll let you go first. So, Joel, prepare your vocabulary. Colin's going to steal some of the big words. Colin, what are you getting on that palate of yours?
Yeah, I think the herbs really shine through, even more so than the cherry. And honestly, I thought the cherry was going to be a little bit more candied from the nose, but on the palate, it's a lot fresher. And I don't know if that's because of it's kind of playing off that herbal note or what's going on there. But it really, for me, it's like those Italian herbs, and then you get a little bit of cherry. How are you guys experiencing it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, way more that herbaliness, like a super, super front and center.
Yeah.
But then again, I still think really nicely balanced. And yeah, totally agree. This was kind of the level of freshness of the fruit that I was sort of anticipating. And then I'll just call out to like a little bit more, we keep saying cherry, but like I see some berries in there too. I definitely see like a little raspberry peeking through a little bit more when we're drinking it.
Yeah, well, that's a good call.
Just thinking about the structure a little bit, like it's got this nice kind of medium full body. The tannins are aggressive, seems like the wrong word, but there are some really just present tannins. These tannins are standing up for themselves, like they are there. It's not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not, you said sweater teeth last week, Joel.
Yeah.
It's not that, but it's just if you like tannic wine, this is kind of right where you want it to be. And then there's just a really good balance of the flavor. You get a big sip, you get some flavors right on the palate, and then it kind of lingers for a little bit. It's not, we've had that experience with wines where maybe it's a lot of aromas and a lot of taste, and then we're like kind of disappointed that thins out too fast. And this has a nice little lingering taste. Like I'm enjoying this glass of wine. It's not going down too fast because every sip just kind of packs a punch and then hangs out for a bit. So structure wise, this thing seems pretty spot on to me.
Yeah, totally agree. And Sangiovese is known for high acid and high tannin, but in this wine, they're very nicely balanced. One doesn't stick out, and you're right that the tannin is quite intense, but it's really enjoyable. Like this is the kind of tannin in big tannic wines that I really enjoy. So it's a nice change from maybe some of the other high tannin wines that we've had in the past.
The only thing that I will call out, and not so much refute, but just call out, is that finish to me is pretty much just purely the alcohol. Like that's what's sticking around for me. I think the really lovely notes, to me, I need to explore this a little bit more, but they do kind of fade somewhat quickly for me, and I'm left with the alcohol. It's not distracting. It's not taking anything away, I would say, but like that's the finish for me. But at 14.5%, I'm not shocked.
For sure. And I kind of pick up the baking spices more on the finish than I do on the sip. Not that they're not in the sip, but for me, that's what lingers.
And I'm gonna take a big swing here, and feel free to calm me down, but I'm trying. I feel like when I think about what I like in structure of wine, I get a lot of, like, I enjoy Sangiovese. It's something I've learned about myself, and I wouldn't have known 2 years ago. I've also learned that I really like Cab Franc. And I think there's a lot of similarities in that kind of, minerality, little grittier, just kind of that ending punch in both of these styles of wine that, it's the through line of what I like about these wines. It's like this big, bold, tannic, but also has that kind of herbal and minerally kind of grit to it. I don't know if that's the right word, that I really enjoy.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. Maybe different flavor profiles, but I think the comparison is pretty
it's more like the
spot on.
experience of the structure of the wine. I feel like it's very similar between the two that we've had so far
Sure.
versus like definitely not like the which fruit are most present, but just kind of like the overarching feel and experience of the wine itself.
Is it maybe like a complexity and a maturity to the winemaking that
Sure.
you find in the old world that you might not in the new?
See, that makes me feel snobby, so I don't want to agree to that, because if I go down a rabbit hole of liking old world wines, then I have to leave America.
I mean, it's okay to have preferences without being a snob. I mean, you can just enjoy certain things more. Like, that's okay.
I'm kidding. I joke. I think you're right. I think Joel's right. I think there's an aspect, especially in like those, in like the bigger, bolder reds and how they're done. Because some of the lighter reds are not my favorite from the old world. I'd kind of prefer some of the lighter reds I've had from like Napa. But when it comes to either like a big bold Cab Franc or Sangiovese versus like a big bold Cab Sauv from Napa, in that case, I'm actually leaning more towards old world wine. Is what I'm learning in my wine experience. What?
Wine snob alert.
Aaron has just discovered wine.
All right, so this is exciting. So far, I did not hear, outside of maybe a lingering alcohol-y taste at the end, which may be to be expected from a 14.5% bottle of wine, for $25. So far, so good. So
Our boy Jimmy might be onto something.
oh yeah, he might actually know what he's doing. Shocking. That's deep sarcasm. Of course he knows what he's doing. He has a master class. All right, but this is definitely a wine I think that merits giving it a little bit of time to sit and open up some more. So let's fill that time with really exciting knowledge from our learning segment that we call Wine Drops, where we just sprinkle you with a few drops of knowledge about wine.
It's time to drop some knowledge. Wine Drops.
All right, Colin, we have returned to Chianti Classico. Very exciting. Now we know, and it's always a good refresher. And so if you know this at home, be excited that you know something awesome. But if you are wondering to yourself, what is Chianti Classico? We know it's from a very specific place in Tuscany. But Colin, can you explain to the listener what makes Chianti Classico different from the broader Chianti region?
Sure. So it was actually started because there was a quality problem in the greater Chianti region. They were just pumping out a whole bunch of wine, and there were some producers who didn't want to be known for big, gross bulk wine. So they started a Classico region, which is located between Florence and Siena in Tuscany. And to be considered a Chianti Classico, it has to be made within the specific geographic area marked as Chianti Classico.
Got it. Because for a long time, Chianti actually had like a bad reputation. Like I remember we joked about like little Italian grandmas with like the bottle wrapped in twine. Right?
Yeah, that's
and,
right.
Like that was
Yeah,
just
that's
like low quality cooking wine.
Absolutely. And you can still find that stuff out there, but the Chianti Classico producers wanted to separate themselves from that, which is why they decided to create this zone of higher quality. And they made a lot of rules, some of which we'll talk about here in a minute, but they made a lot of rules so there's some quality built in to the region, or some hopeful quality built into the region. And a fun fact about the Chianti Classico region, every bottle that comes out of Chianti Classico will have a black rooster on it, which is the symbol. So you don't even need to know anything about the bottle of wine you're looking at. If you see that black rooster up at the top, Chianti Classico.
Nice.
So Sangiovese is the star grape in Chianti Classico. But it's not the only grape that's grown there, and it's not the only grape they can use in their wines in Chianti Classico. So, Joel, what can the Chianti Classico blend be?
Yeah, so it has to be at least 80% Sangiovese. You get a little creative with the rest of the 20%. A lot of times you'll find it with other local grapes from the same area, but I mean, there's nothing to stop a winemaker from bringing a Merlot, bringing in a Cab. So you can get pretty creative with the other 20% outside of that 80% minimum requirement Sangiovese. And I think it's interesting too because, you were talking about even just within the region, there's, different areas, different quality levels. Obviously, that's going to have a big impact on the final wine that you get. All the normal things, right? The weather, the age of the vines, all that good stuff. But what's really interesting too, though, is big differentiator is how long the wine was aged in the bottle. Huge difference maker when we're talking about wine from this area. So, Aaron, what's really the impact? What makes it a Chianti Classico Reserva?
I'm really happy to get to answer this question because this is one of those pieces of information I really enjoyed learning because you go to the wine shop and you see these bottles and you see right next to each other, right? You see the basic bottle and then you see the Reserva and then you see the Gran Reserva and what does that mean? It is important to note that every different country that uses this language, they have different requirements. But when it comes to Chianti Classico, what we're talking about is basic Chianti Classico has to be aged for 12 months, period. To be a Reserva, it has to spend at least 24 months aging, and 3 of those months can be in bottles. So we're talking about 2 years of this aging before it is on the shelf itself. To go even a higher level, if we want to do a Gran Reserva, it has to be aged for at least 30 months, in which 3 of that can be in a bottle. It also changes, and this is what I thought was really interesting, the Sangiovese requirement. So Gran Reserva has to be at least 90% Sangiovese with 10% indigenous grapes beyond it. So while your basic can have at least 80% Sangiovese, you know that if you're getting the Gran Reserva level, you're getting at least 90% Sangiovese. And even beyond aging, beyond how much of the wine has to be Sangiovese, even the alcohol level can be part of it. So, looking at, basic Chianti Classico, it has to be 12% alcohol. Gran Reserva has to be at least 13% alcohol. Colin, do you think that a 0.5%, when we're looking at the Reserva, so the basic has to be 12%, the Reserva has to be 12.5%, the Gran Reserva has to be 13%. Do you think those little 0.5% make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about what that means, right, to get alcohol up there, the grapes have to be more ripe and have to have more sugar. So, as we've learned on past episodes, the riper the grapes are going to get, the more of those intense fruit flavors you can have. It can make quite a difference as far as style is concerned in the final glass. So, something to keep in mind, even just in general with alcohol. Usually the higher the alcohol, the riper the grapes, which can lead to, bigger, bolder fruit flavors along with more alcohol in the wine itself. So, we've talked a lot about Chianti Classico. I think it's always important to kind of give the folks at home an idea of what they can expect from Chianti Classico as far as flavors are concerned. So, Joel, can you give us an idea of what people can expect from Chianti Classico?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's interesting when we think about it because it's a lot of what we've already kind of called out when we were first having our sips, right? That cherry flavor, those herbal notes. We already talked about how when it comes to the Reserva, the Classico Reserva, we're talking about a minimum 12.5% alcohol. We're talking about a minimum 24 months of aging, only 3 of those having to be in the bottle. So that's a lot of time sitting in some oak. So, you're going to find the kind of more complex flavors, some of that spice that we were calling out. And, because of that little, even though, like we talked about, it's only a 0.5% more ABV that's required for the Chianti Classico Reserva, it's gonna have an impact, and it's gonna result in a little bit more body in the final profile. So I mean, what do you guys think? Let's have another sip with all of that in mind. See if that makes sense to kind of what we've been experiencing.
I have to imagine too that minimum alcohol requirement. I'm curious, like, who's making the Chianti Reserva that's sitting at 12.5%, while this one is sitting at 14.5%. Like that seems like a broad difference in style of wine to be this both called Chianti Classico Reserva.
That's a good point. We are talking minimums here.
Yeah,
so listen, you can shoot for the moon, as apparently the fine folks over at Tenuta di Renieri did. But yeah, no, it's a good call, and I think all with the intent of that different profile they're seeking for their Reserva. So
I think this bottle is a really good example of what Chianti Classico is supposed to be as far as a flavor profile goes. So when thinking about what is a classical Chianti, this is kind of checking all those boxes, right? We have the cherry, we have the herbal notes. I will say having it stay open a little bit longer has just kind of let it like even out a little bit. And that's all. Like there's nothing new in my brain that's popping up. There's no like new surprise flavors, but everything's just kind of worked into a pretty nice balance. And I think maybe, again, some of that 14.5% alcohol has just kind of had the opportunity to burn off a little bit.
Yeah, you can definitely decant this one and give it some air. It's not going to hurt it. And Aaron, I totally agree. I think the fruit has kind of come forward a little bit. It's still mostly herbal in my opinion, but the fruit is kind of caught up. Like at first it was just like herbs, cherry at the end. Now it's like, oh, cherry and herbs working together. And you're right, a little bit of that alcohol is blown off. So I think this is definitely one, and Sangiovese in general, to be honest, that you can decant and feel pretty good about leaving under some air for a while.
Totally. What about you, Joel?
no notes. You guys nailed it. Get out of my head.
Right.
All right. Well, fantastic. All right. We tried it. We learned a lot about Chianti. We did some spiral review, as they call it in the educational world. I always get really excited when we learn about this. Spiral review is when you go back something you learned before. Spiraled review.
Oh, okay.
It's like when you start.
Cool.
Thank you for going back.
I'm in.
Thank you for spiraling back to explain that one to me.
You got it. You're nailing it. You're a teacher now. All right. So very cool. There's only one thing left to do, and we got to review this wine.
Party.
And we're going to play a game, so there's at least 3 things left.
So there's 3 things that we have to do. We have to review this wine. We have to party. We have to play a game. We have to say goodbye. Okay, so there's some stuff we have to stick around, folks. We got a little bit we have to do. And now we're
just getting started here. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, but did they like it? It's time for the review.
Joel, I would love to know your thoughts. You are a historic hater of Italian wines, so I want to see if I won you over.
I don't remember that.
I'm gonna yes and this for you, despite my absolute love for Nebbiolos and Barolos and Chiantis. But
Your reputation precedes you.
yeah, I hate Italian wines. Notorious Italian wine hater Joel here to tell you that this is really
I'm just
good.
going to clip that.
No, I think this is really nice. I mean, it's interesting because I'm enjoying it a whole lot, and it's really good. I think what we should consider moving forward and would be interesting to do is like look for the Chianti Classico Reserva, whatever we want to focus on, and try to find the real outlier, because to me it's more like they're just consistently good. They're consistently good. It's tough for me to name like one and be like, oh my God, that Chianti was an absolute life changer. But it's also tough for me to point to one and be like, that was bad, because they're just consistently really good. So I'm going to mark this as a must share just because it's good. I think I would have a hard time picking this one out of a lineup, but it's really enjoyable. We talked about, the really nice flavors, the complexity, the great balance. I mean, the only negative thing we had to say, and you guys didn't even say it, I just called out, a little bit of a lingering alcohol that, to your point too, towards the end was already kind of starting to get a little bit more subtle. So really nice must-share wine. Chianti's, man. I mean, just it's a safe bet.
Totally. Colin?
Yeah, I think you make a great point, Joel, when you said, you couldn't pick this one out of a lineup, because I think there are a lot of Chiantis that are going to taste like this, which is awesome. Like if you can find a group of wines from different producers that are going to be good almost every single time, like that's a region you should explore, especially if you like the Sangiovese profile. So, I think that's a fantastic point. And I agree. It's a must share, honestly, as most Chiantis, I think, or Chianti Classicos anyway, would be. I'm really enjoying it. I think I was enjoying it less at the beginning. I will say that. But as we've kind of sat here and talked and it's opened up, it's really evened itself out. But it's tasty. It's not blowing me away. It's not the best wine in the world, but I'd be happy to share this as what a good version of Chianti Classico would be. So I must share.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys, and it's kind of funny to put your finger on it because it's a good bottle of wine. I am enjoying it. I have no negative notes, and when I think about the St. Giorgio, that was the Chianti Classico basic. It was not the Reserva, and it's $17, and it's a great bottle of wine. And that bottle got into some of our wine fridges, and I would like without.
It was also very early. Can we just say we had tried very few wines at the time.
Sure,
so not to say that it's not a good wine,
bottle of wine. And so what I'm saying is, this is like $8 more. And it is the Reserva, and also the St. Giorgio has a Reserva version, so that would be something interesting to look into. But I'm saying, like, this is a good bottle of wine. I would call it a must-share. It's not approaching my wine fridge. I just think if I'm going to put out a group of wines, like, on the table, if I'm having folks over, if I'm hosting, if I'm doing a dinner, I would totally consider putting this out as a example of a Chianti Classico. That's a good representation of the region and of the wine without breaking the bank. So now when I think about a 95-point score, that feels like it's approaching a high level for a $25 wine. And I do wonder if it's that, but which is why our ranking system is better. Because this is just this is just a good bottle of wine that you should buy if you want to spend $25 on a bottle of wine. It's good for $25.
That's a good point. 95 points is pretty darn close to perfect.
It's high, right? It's a high score.
It is. Yeah.
There's
you're right.
Lots of $50, $60, $70, $80 bottles of wine that are very proudly showing their 92, 93, 94 point stickers. So, it's interesting when you land in that world of rubrics, these numbers. So that being said, I agree with you guys. Must share. It's a good bottle of wine. Not my wine fridge, but why not? If you like Sangiovese, you like Chianti Classico.
Yeah,
good bottle.
And can we just talk about real quick food with this, because I would love some pasta with some spicy red sauce. Just this wine's calling for food, which I think Chianti Classico does often, but this would be great with some good Italian food.
It's being real Italian. It's just sitting here being its Italian self.
Being
outrageously
I would eat this with
Italian. A pizza. I would eat this with some pasta. I would eat this with anything with pepperonis in it.
Pasta.
I'm gonna go get a calzone. This would be really solid with that.
No, this Italian food wine for sure. But it can stand up by itself too. I'm enjoying it just as a sipper as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, before we go, let's play a game.
All right, yes. So the new game we are introducing today for the very first time. This is Viterations.
Viterations.
Here's how we do this. Every time we play Viterations, what we're going to do, present each other with the question of, if this wine were, what would it be? I'll give you an example. Aaron, you ready to go?
Let's go.
Aaron, if this wine were a piece of clothing, what would it be?
Ooh. If this wine were a piece of clothing, I think this would be one of those real sexy Italian speedos that I'm going to be brave enough to pull off one day. It's spicy, but it's well balanced.
We hope it's well balanced.
It's attractive.
Sure.
It's inviting.
Sure.
And it might be a little bit too much for some people. But in general, folks, I think are going to appreciate it.
Okay.
I might
wanna
disagree with
question
your
any of
take
that.
on Italian speedos, but
You haven't lived.
Great. Not what I was expecting, but great.
I thought that was pretty good. But okay, Colin,
It was something.
if this wine was a type of cheese,
Oh,
perfect.
how
why
appropriate.
perfect?
Like, I used to sell cheese. My first job out of college was selling cheese for a cheese distributor.
This is
so,
an only you question.
yeah, nailed
That was
it.
my favorite, for the record, my favorite job you've ever had, because I got to go buy
I had-
a lot of really good cheese.
I had a fridge of samples. It was pretty wild. It was good stuff. But yeah, I would call this one a cheddar, because cheddar cheese doesn't really matter who makes it. It's going to be pretty good. You know, it kind of right down the middle, not too offensive, but still pretty damn tasty. People are going to enjoy it. So this is the cheddar cheese of wine.
Okay, it's the worst things you could be called. It's like
Yeah.
the American cheese of wine.
Yeah,
Pepper
or the
jack
Italian
of wine.
speedo of wine.
Yeah,
High praise. Don't offend the Italians.
All right, so Joel, round us out.
And
If this wine were a car, what would it be?
this wine would be a Volvo. Okay, similar to the cheddar cheese.
Didn't
This is
you
gonna be a
were gonna say
Volvo. Here's why this would be a Volvo. Quality, always good. You're always safe in a Volvo. Some people will view it as like, a luxury car, but there's a slight premium to the cost, but they're affordable. You can get yourself into a Volvo. Not gonna win any, track days or anything like that, but it's gonna be a nice ride. It's gonna be a nice ride. Okay, this is the Volvo of wines.
Love it.
All right, there you have it, folks. Our first ever attempt at Viterations. If you need a new way to think about this wine, it is a cheddar cheese of a wine. It is a Volvo of a wine, and if you're feeling kind of spicy, it is the Italian speedo of a wine. I think we've covered all the bases this episode, gentlemen. What
That's
do you
it.
I
think?
think so.
That's
Yeah,
Nailed it.
maybe one or two extra bases we didn't need to cover, but we did it. We had a good time. It's good.
Wow, fantastic. All right, well, before we go, Joel, let the listeners know, how can they help us out?
Guys, stop wasting your wine on Instagram and YouTube. That's where we're hanging out. And then just come check us out at stopwastingyourwine.com so you can see every review we've done.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Thanks again. Great episode. You now have 3 different Chianti Classicos you can choose from just based on our reviews alone. Keep coming back for more. All right, so we will see you next week.
And remember, stop wasting your wine.
Bye, y'all.
bye.